to everyone that is here in the meeting, to the senior management of police in this district, led by myself, a Major General Maj-Gen Ncatha. But with me, I have Brigadier Cole, who is in charge of operations in the district. Everyone that is wearing uniform is the one that is in charge of. So when you are not doing well, we must look to his direction. So if there's anyone to be prayed for here so that our city could be safe, is him. But when he does not do well, I mean, when he does not do well to prevent a crime to occur, so then a crime will be occurred, a person will open a case, then we'll have a docket under our shoulder, the detectives, those that are trained to think like skeletons. Brigadier Ngobelanga. Those dockets, they come to him. So between the two of them, one must assist this one, and he must assist him. And then when they work together, we will have a city that is safe. But I'm not only alone here. We've got also Colonel Naidu, the communications officer in our district and also the province. What we want her to do is not only to communicate the bad things that the police are doing or the society is doing. And I think it does not really help. You know, whenever you open your book, you read only all the bad things that are happening around us. But also there's a lot of good work that the police do. And her job is to ensure that she communicates to the world and to the district and to everyone around here. And then we've got also Colonel Galvani with me, because the police, they work under duress, and believe me, we don't even rest. We work every day. The three of us, we arrived last night, we were in Zwelitsha. We were there for 2 days, but today we were here. And from here, we are going to KwaNobuhle. And the day does not end at 4. You know, there are also members. Because there are so many things that are happening here. Like yesterday, there was also a child that was killed in New Brighton. On Monday, 3 children were burned to death in New Brighton. And who must go there and look for those, you know, that would have died in that fashion are the police. And because police are also human beings, somewhere there must be intervention so that they can also be distressed, they must be debriefed and counseled. Colonel Galvani is in charge of the chaplains within our organization, the social workers, the psychiatrists, and everyone that is a support to our members. He's also here. But we've got also our own chaplain here, Mfundis. Yes, she's a chaplain, she's a reverend, and she's always with us because in every meeting that we have, we open our meeting with prayer, because I think all of us, we really realize that whether you like it or not, with God, everything is possible. And the organization itself decided to employ us, those who go and kick the doors, and also the reverends, so that they can also pray for peace and pray for us so that we can have wisdom going forward. So we are here today. This district has about 18 stations and 18 station commanders, and so therefore 18 problems. Because it starts at Yen Gqeberha, formerly Port Elizabeth, Utenake, and also dispatch. All the stations, they are under by my leadership as the district commissioner here. we are working in a very busy area and very busy, and people are killed here. And people are killed every day. Every day. In the past 24 hours, we had about 4 people killed. And that worries us. Why does that worry us? A person like me who believe that I am no longer here now to get a salary at the end of the month. I really want to make a difference, because this is my community. These are the people, and these are the people of God, and I am employed. I thank God for that employment and to protect them. But here am I finding it very difficult to do on my own. Even though we have so much experience, I know between the 3 of us, it's over 100 years of experience. But despite that, we are unable to conquer or to win this battle. And what you are doing, and that will continue doing, and is to ensure that we form partnerships. And we form partnerships, and so that the communities can take part and can assist us and themselves in the fight against crime. I mean, from April until now, we had about 480 people killed just here in this district. From April until August. So if that is the case, something is terribly wrong. The bishop said the world is in crisis. And then I wrote here, Nelson Mandela district is in crisis. And because of that crisis, it forces us not to have time or to allow ourselves and everybody else to sit on the fence, because we cannot wait for these things to come to our homes. And what I've always been saying is that a person just like me, who was also born and bred here in Port Elizabeth, I've got nowhere to go now. I was in Cape Town. I worked at Nyanga, indeed. But if things were too bad in Nyanga, I would have run to PE, because that's my home. Yes. But now I'm at home. I've got nowhere to go now. I've got nowhere to go. And I want to believe many of us that are residing in this city, we're born here, we don't want to leave. So when you are right at your home, you will do anything and everything to ensure that the environment that you live in is safe and secure. So that is why, as the police, we have decided, and will continue doing so, to rally everyone, including the churches, to assist us or to participate in the crime fighting in this district. We call it crime prevention through spiritual intervention. Because many people will always blame the police, and sometimes I really agree with them. I also blame the police. I'm the one that always is fighting, because I want to see our guys really working. And in the last meeting, and I'm instructing people to arrest those that are carrying knives. And there was an argument in my meeting. One of the station commanders there, not argument, because she told me, the members are saying this, the courts are saying that. I said, you cannot be a police official, detective, the prosecutor, and the magistrate. Let's do our part. And it was about the knife. And with no time, we received a message that a 15-year-old boy has been stabbed right in front of the school. with a knife. Then I asked, yeah, that knife. It is that knife that I want people to be arrested for. And what now? So we are in crisis. And it may seem like the police are only in crisis, but when the police are in crisis, the whole city is in crisis because you need to go to churches, you need to go to the shops. You don't want to go to a church that is broken into, a church that is also paying a protection fee that people are extorting now. They are no longer going and rob the banks and this and that. They come and knock on your door and say, we are going to protect your church. You must pay us. It is happening here in this district. So matters are happening. And what happens afterwards? You find your church being robbed and this and that, because now the guys now have graduated, because if we are not strong and in our fight against crime now, the criminals also graduate, they gain experience and they become larger, arrogant, etc. So somehow we must fight to stop, because if we don't do that, we will have a country that is run by criminals. Something that I've heard, that even these guys were also involved during the election of the councillors. A friend of mine told me, he said the community wanted to elect him, but he was also visited and told that you don't avail yourself. You see, you don't avail yourself, because if you avail yourself, and then you may not want to collude with those that want to extort, want to steal money from government through the services that are delivered. So if we allow, it will get there. If you allow that bishop, you'll have bishops that are not real bishops, that are working for other people. If we allow it, we'll have the district commission that will come and stand here, knowing very well what I'm saying is not what I believe in. It's not what I want. It's not what I pray for every day. So somewhere we must work together, but we must create a space and a platform for that. We must be more organized, because the criminals are organized. There are people now who, there's another case that you are busy with. A family from KwaNobuhle called me and said they've been looking for their brother, and they heard that the brother was buried and they do not know. And then immediately I found that this gentleman was really buried and he died of natural causes, and they said it's overdose. And then immediately I continued the investigation. I found that there are about 2 claims on him. 1.2 million and the 1 million. The guy never worked. He's just like an ordinary person, but there are people who went to the insurance company and covered him. So they had all they had to do was just to wait for 6 months, and thereafter you would. That's what is happening currently now in areas such as KwaNobuhle, New Brighton, KwaZakhele, and other areas here. So one of your congregants will just come, is an unemployed person who's praying and this and that, only to find out he or she may be killed in 6 months' time because there are people that are waiting. So if we are not organized as the police, if the community is not organized, if the community is not aware of what is happening around there, so we are going to be in trouble. That is why I firmly believe that we, as the police, we need to communicate more about what is happening, so that at least you know what is happening. And by so doing, you are not saying we are creating a society where people will all be scared. I think that must give us courage to pray more for peace, to pray more for the wisdom of those that are in charge of the police, because we need, because if you don't have wisdom, and yet we're expected to lead the police, to lead the operations, because the police sometimes are very disciplined. They do what we tell them. So if we are not real, there's no intelligence in us, there's no wisdom. So we are going to be in trouble. That is why every day I pray for wisdom as well, because I know that with me alone, I will not be able to do that. The rapes, everyone talks about the GBV, it's real. Between April and August, we had about 322 that were raped. And you know, whenever there's a crime starts for the rapes, you are always told that not everyone go and report the cases. So we are in serious crisis, and those that were raped, you are referring to people who did not want to take part in that practice. They did not want, but someone bullied them. And those in the matters, we've got women killed, we've got also children killed. And I heard someone asking what type of a society we are. And I think we must answer that question by saying we want to do something about it. We want to do something about it. And some time ago, I even asked at church on Sunday that we visited a church on Sunday, a Methodist church in Madawi, Galilee. And then I said to them, kindly be biased in your prayers now and pray for peace. Now, because even if you win lotto now, you pray for lotto, you may not even enjoy that money for lotto if there is no safety. You may be employed and buy yourself a nice car, the big car, but you may not enjoy it, may also be hijacked because you only prayed only to win lotto, to get promotion, etc. But the problem is crime, and crime is a problem. But the problem here are the perpetrators of crime, the people that do crime. And those are the people that must be dealt with. And those are the people that we must do everything possible in our power, starting in our own families, you know, to influence them to change their mindset and not to be tempted to commit crime. But the youth today is troubled because there are so many things that are happening around us. The drugs are a problem. Drugs are a problem. Proliferation of firearms and also alcohol abuse. We live in a society where people really abuse substance, either drugs, alcohol. And we've been saying as a police here in the district, we do not want to see any obedience to happen here. Because if you look at it about any obedience, even the police are finding it difficult even to find the cause of their death. And there are many children, and those were youth, those were our children. I mean, when I saw the minister crying on TV, if people did not really know that this is serious, and a man does not just cry for the sake of, it was not a cry because he was excited. It's just that I think he was overwhelmed by what he witnessed, seeing our children in body bags of 13 years old. And these things are happening. And some of the parents do not even know that their children went to that part. They thought children are sleeping, they are asleep, etc. And then while I was on Wednesday, today is Thursday, on Tuesday, I visited a friend of mine who is a pastor there in East London. Then I arrived just after 8 o'clock, and then I asked, where are your children? He said, no, the children are sleeping. The bedtime here is 8 o'clock. Then And jokingly, I said, go and check them, whether they're still there. And you went to check, they said, no, they are still there. I said, no, it's fine. That's what we need to do now. When I said we begin in our own homes, in our own churches, in our own police stations. Because you know how serious crime is, even the police, some of the police are infiltrated. And that's what we are doing. I think everyone is aware that personally, I do not want to work with criminals because I'm not a criminal. So therefore, I want all of us and be assisted to expose those that are involved in criminality within our ranks. We don't want them. They don't belong here. They don't belong here. And as a police, we do, but I don't think we're also doing, maybe, of course, I think we're succeeding in arresting those, and they're arrested by us, but we want to know more about it. And I even told the community, I will not even be embarrassed if you take a video of that one that is taking money that does not belong to him wearing a uniform. I will be happy, because we must name and shame those who are involved in crime so that they don't get glorified. Last weekend, 2 of the gangsters were killed. Then if you remember, I said, if we allow the criminals, they will even change our society and change how things are done, including the funerals. And when you bury a criminal, they wanted 21 men gun salute. And I think you might have seen some of the videos on social media. And on weekend, Saturday, I had to deploy on 2 different places, but at least we managed to get about 3 firearms and 1 person was arrested. Now, even their own funeral, the families can't even control the funeral of their own children. But once more again, sitting on the fence is not going to help us, because I think I will not allow, no matter my child or my son is a criminal and die of the work that he's doing as a criminal, I will not allow them to come and bury my child in that fashion. But the parents, even themselves, they just fold their arms. It looks sometimes, it's like, I think the community look at us as the police, but the police are doing nothing about it. And the community also seems to be doing nothing about it. If that is the case, I think all of us, something that the brigadier said, and I've been saying it, that as the police, we need to renew our vows. That's what the brigadier told us, that as the police, we must renew our vows. And we renew our vows because we need to, if people are not working, now is time to work. Now is time to work. We work with churches because our intention as the police is to formalize this fight against crime through spiritual intervention, divine intervention. We want it formalized here in the district. And you know, the benefit of it is that at churches, there are more congregants that are more people that come as congregants to churches, and they join other prayer groups, etc. People must know what is happening around them, and they must assist us in the prayers in terms of ensuring that there's safety. But also, what the bishop said, your experience can assist us also in mediation, including training our people to mediate, because now the police find themselves in trouble. What we call economic sabotage. When the community is not happy with the services, what they do, they go and block the roads. And those that are transporting goods, some of the goods, in fact, must reach overseas, do not reach overseas. And the electricity is stolen, and people's cars are attacked, etc. And you'll find that, again, the police must go back there. We must go and disperse them, boom, 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 and also expected to go and also negotiate with them, mediate. So when I look at it, but we're not going to win. We cannot be everything as if this war is only for us and about us alone. Yet the most victims are the community members who have various skills and experience. So the churches and the church leadership can assist us when there are conflicts, to assist us with conflict management, resolutions, and also mediation. I'll make an example here. When in the gang areas, Kelvindale, Bethelsdorp, I think everyone is aware that we grew up knowing there are gangs, and the gangs are still there, and the gangs are killing our children. And it does not seem like the police approach will ever stop the gangs. So how are we going to stop the gangs? And the gangs are killing people. There's 480 people killed, also there in the gangs areas. But there are no really formal mediation. There is no program where we'll say, we don't want gangs. Tell us, General, how many meters that were as a result of gangs in the district? And what are we going to do? Because we are trained and we know that we have got the skill and experience to do mediation, because these are the people that fight over something. And even if the police arrest this one, the other ones are here to just continue making this one angry. And there is an eye for an eye there. You kill this side, they want to kill also. So it's a war that does not end. And until we manage to change their mindset, something that the police are not really trained at. We are trained to go and arrest, take the person to court. But now the divine intervention can assist us at our schools and everywhere else. And so that we can also change how the government does things. I don't want to talk about pre-1994, how we were raised, that we start with the prayer at school, etc., etc. I think there are so many things that were good during the time, because now it's free for all. But we need the society. The society must stand up. Society must not tolerate also mediocre performance from the police. And I'm happy whenever I receive a complaint from the community, say, I'm not happy with the police, I'm happy. I'm happy to assist. I do that one in person and give the feedback in person, because I want us to not just to be average. We need to do better, because I think the government and the police is paying us as well. And what I always tell them is that as the police during COVID, when every company, the big companies, when they went under and did not pay their employees, but government paid us on time, somehow we must show gratefulness. And how to show that gratefulness? By serving the people diligently and honestly. So we have no choice as the police. That is why I don't accept when people don't want to do what they're supposed to do. And all of that, I'm asking them as well, that we need to work and we need to ensure that we win the war. And fortunately, personally, I am a result-driven commander. I want to see the results. That is why even now, I'm a bit frustrated. Our crime doesn't look good at all. But we're not going to stop the fight, because I can see pockets of successes and also the efforts that we are doing from all the stations, that we must go out and mobilize the community. That's what is going to help us. Everyone talks about the moral decay in our society, and I think everyone can really agree with me. And it's like it's organized, and we are disorganizing, addressing it. And somehow we need to do something about it. We need to do something about it at the society and also as the police. We must be the leading agent. And the police of this district, I think we there are so many things that we're involved in. And I'm happy that we are always welcomed every Sunday. Every Sunday. We have about 18 stations, and now we've been to 6 stations, churches. What we do every Sunday, we identify a church at one of the policing precincts. And this weekend, we are going to station number 7 every Sunday in uniform, myself and some of the leadership from my office and the station management. And the churches, what I'm so thankful and grateful about is that they welcome us. They even give us a slot. They even deviate from their own programs, because everyone, I think, is taking crime very seriously. But our drive and our intention, our prayers is that can we all be involved? Sitting on the fence is not going to help no one. And we're not saying go and become a police, but there is a way, and there's a lot that we can contribute with. But the police must do their work. We must just make sure that we look after our own resources. We encourage our members. We create a conducive environment within our working places so that our members work and they get the support from me. That's what I try to do every day, support those that are working outside. So I am so grateful to be here today, and I hope and pray that the churches are also going to assist us in ensuring that eventually we do have a Nelson Mandela Bay spiritual crime prevention committee with programs. Where I come from, we did it very successfully. Every Tuesday, there are programs where the religious leaders, together with myself and the station management, go, and we are doing it. And those programs is not led by the police, because all that we did and managed to do was to encourage everyone in the area. That is why we managed to drop Nyanga from being a meta capital for years. They are no longer a meta capital, because I think what we did was to go to the communities and speak to them what we're busy doing here. And I hope that whatever that we're doing here will really yield good results. And we are here to ask prayers for the leadership of SAPS in this district, for all the members. We want to have wisdom while leading this organization here. This is a big elephant. And I know a big elephant, we must all be involved in eating it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, General. I think let us open the floor and ask people if they want to make contributions. I see on Zoom there was a question, is there a number we can call? Somebody that want to liaise with the police, or somebody that want to offer, let's say, for a spiritual program. If you can just give us a number and a person that we can contact to liaise with you. That's the question on Zoom. I think we've heard exciting input. So anyone that wants to make a remark or to ask a question, the General, you are welcome, most welcome. The people on Zoom as well, just lift your hand, unmute yourself, and you can ask a question. Anyone from the floor here? Anyone, Bishop?
Okay. Thank you very much, General. I want to contribute now, not as a chairperson, but as an ordinary member. Just 3 things. One is about the disparity between the justice system and the safety. You work so hard, guys, but I'm afraid there is a disparity between what happens when you have held that criminal, the bail system, let me put it that way, the bail system vis-a-vis what is expected by the community is actually fast leaving you behind. That kind of problem, that challenge, I'm afraid it is running at a speed that you will find the community left you behind. You're taking a criminal and you're taking it there, taking him or her there, and in about 12 hours, you see that criminal in the community, and the people ban that. And you go to the community, please don't take crime into your hands. We are there, please lend to it. People are not there. You are actually, forgive me, it's not personal. You are actually slow in what is happening in the community vis-a-vis what is happening into the justice system. That is the first thing. The second thing is, I'm not sure what you are going to be doing with the parties that are fighting amongst themselves because of the positions. Those parties have got firearms. And those firearms are not controlled. People are just roaming our streets with unlicensed firearms. And we are there as churches. We will pray. For instance, now you will not live without prayers. We've got big bishops here. They are listening very, very carefully. And apostles, they are going to be praying for you guys. What you have invited us into the prayers is going to happen. But what is it that is getting the firearms from the SAPS so easily into the criminal fold? And lastly, Bishop has spoken about the crisis in the religious space and into the political leadership that is there, that is infiltrating even the community. That is that division, that competition, that economic kind of competition that is getting people with these kind of tenders and so on, that is actually Mr. Zondo. I'm not sure if he's going to win that kind of thing because there is nobody that seems to be caring. It is just like a talk show. And I don't want this to be a talk show. How are you going to address those things? The speed at which the community is doing things and the anxiety that is being shown them, firearms, and also the economic greediness that is there.
Thank you, Bishop General. I don't know if you want to respond. At this stage, I think 3 questions.
Okay, yes. The disparity. Something I wanted also to, I always invite people to do is to take time and read Section 35 of the Constitution. You know, Section 35 demands us that for us to find a person guilty, you must prove beyond reasonable doubt. You know, reasonable doubt, there must be no reason to doubt. There must be no reason to doubt. That is why the way the system is, it must be the state that must prove a person have done something. The person have no obligation on him or her to prove his or her innocence, in fact. And that results as you know, even if you look at all these cases that are currently in the media, the criminals and those that are perpetrators, they are like the main guys. The media is all about them. At court, once the magistrate asks the question, have you been informed of your rights? Do you have a representation? They've got a special place to sit, and it's up to them also to cover their faces so that no one sees them. They've got rights, and they have the right to remain silent. And that gentleman, for instance, a very straightforward case, because I know the police have the evidence, the cameras, him burning inside. But it's a very big case. It's not about whether he did it or not. It's about his rights to be released on bail and how he's treated, etc. So if you go to our courts, it's rare you find a discussion about whether the person did or not. It's about their rights, because there are too many rights. And I've been saying that. I'm not sure whether I'm not going to be in trouble for this or not, but that's the reality. That's the frustration from our side. We're basically frustrated. For instance, now there's another mama that called me. She was working in dispatch as a domestic worker. Then apparently she got 2 rings. There's one piece that was stolen by one of the children there in their house. What she did, there was no one else. It was her and these 2 boys, over 18 years old. Then she spoke to the parents, her employers. They said, okay, that's fine. No one have ever steal here in the house. It's for the first time. And then, so stay away, while we're investigating. But she realized that she stayed, nothing came from her employers, and she opened the case. And now she opened the case. According to her, she knows who stole her ring. And it's a very important ring to her, apparently. But no one saw. And her demand from me is, I want them arrested. And I said, but we can't. The only thing that we must do, we must investigate and take the docket to the prosecutor to make a decision. And she's fighting with us. In her eyes and her mind, we are useless. But that's a law. So I think we need also to ask ourselves that, yes, it's a right to people to have rights, but we must not have too much of the rights, just like we must not have too much of anything. Too much sugar, too much alcohol, too much of this, even too much money. We don't need it. So that is where the problem is. And that's where the problem is. And the issue of the debate, because he's going there, he wants to get bail. And yet there is so much things that are not clear with regards to his profile, etc., that he stays there. We don't even know, but that's what is happening. For instance, now there is also another law. It's a Child Justice Act, and that's how children that are in conflict with law are dealt. Now, the matter that I spoke about in front of the school in Kamesh, one of the suspects is a 15-year-old boy who also attends school in the same school as the deceased. He was released, and the family is not happy. Then again, we went there to say, you see the law, but this is a child, and the child may be released to the custody of the parent. And the parent, I remember this child was in custody of the parent before he committed crime. And even after he committed crime, we are still saying the law, go back to your parents so that your parent can look after you, not our jails. So there is a challenge, but also, I'm not going to come here and say it's only the justice, but also some of the police that are not doing their work. That's what we must really fight. That is why, remember I said, I'm so happy when the committee says, I'm not happy with this. And I'm trying to tell everyone that if the service complains, we must take them. I even made an example when I said, even if you had a company, you're the owner of a company, and then what will you do if a customer comes and complains about the service? Will you cover your employees, or you will ensure that that customer is happy so that he or she comes back to you? I think the answer is yes. You look after the customer, but the police, when a person complains about our own service, they get angry. Who do you think you are? Do you know the law and this and that, etc.? Because we're not running this as business, because it is not our business. What I'm trying as the leader, to conscientize all our members to take this, that sense of ownership for what we're doing. I think once we do that, then we will work in such a fashion that so that we can be proud of our work. And that is why now we've got about 12,000 students, 12,000 students at the colleges. And we can imagine those 12,000 students are the boys and girls that were not sleeping at night and this and that. They want to come back and wear uniform and have the authority now. You know, those that were criminals before they get employed, they will wear uniform now. Some of them probably were also criminals, were robbing people, but now they may do now with authority now. So I think they are going to be surprised wearing uniform that you can, once you do this, a car can stop. What? You see, so, and if we're going to have and allow as the management, the police that are unguided, and will have a problem, we're not going to have the desired outcome in terms of our work. So the law is, I think the fact that they've got rights and the fact that a person has a right to remain silent, and we must tell him or her that we've got the right to remain silent. And it does not end there. I must also say, if you say anything, I will use against you. Will you now say, having stolen this pen, that, hey, I'm going to arrest you? You have a right not to tell me whether you stole a pen or not. Because if you tell me, you are going to be in trouble. As a result, you know, when a person runs to the police station to say, I've killed a person, we're unable just to arrest that person. We want to go and find out. And even though we have, then we must again organize a district surgeon. We must go and check a person, whether it's the right here or not. We cannot just arrest it. But the community has their own expectations from the police. That once they know this is the person, you see, and they must be arrested. And for instance, I know working the township for years. Once they do their own investigation, they will find this guy, they ask him and beat him up until he goes and do the pointing out. Get everything. And of course, they will want to hand over the suspect being injured and some. And what we do, we must arrest because we'll take the statements, but I must tell you, there is no case because that person was not warned about his rights. And he was forced to confess, and no one has to incriminate him or herself. I mean, come on. That is why when you are asked there to have, are you guilty or not? And once a person says, yes, I'm guilty, the court will stop there and said, take this one. He must go and be checked whether it's the right or not. Yes.
In my church, they said, you know what we do? We have stopped having the confidence into the police that they are going to be doing whatever. Magistrate for police. That is why I was saying there is a slowness of justice that is actually going to tell the community and the own thing that you are doing. If you're not going to be going back to your cohort and say, this is what we're fighting to do. They say, what we want to do now, we're getting the criminal on ourselves, hit that criminal hard. When that criminal is lying there low, we call the police and all of us are going to go. There's nobody that is going to be arrested, but they will find us with the execute of that. Because you're taking a person, you're taking that person, and that person gets a bail and so on. Ever since the system left that force and went to the service, that is where the dysfunctionality is. You must have to revisit whether you are a force or a service to people that are not needing that service to the crime ridden kind of community. Revisit your systems. Actually, the community is too fast for this kind of job of democracy and all the things that you are explaining.
Thank you, Bishop General. Just a moment. Bishop Kuliti is on Zoom. So Bishop Kuliti also want to make a remark or ask a question. Bishop, could you please unmute and then you can make your remark or ask your question? Please just unmute.
Thank you very much, Program Director.
Yes, you may speak.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. Yes, speak.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to thank the General for the presentation. Very promising presentation. And I want to say that together with others, we will keep on praying for your endeavors in minimizing crime in the city. But I've got practical things that I would want to suggest. Firstly, I like the bilaterals that you are starting doing, meeting the churches. But I also want you to make other contacts or other meetings with other stakeholders like liquor board. We have a problem of licensed and unlicensed shebils that instead of closing at 10, they close at 5 in the morning. So if we may have a meeting with a liquor board so that they can also take part in minimizing the crime by alerting their people to close on time. Secondly, also, I think Bishop Fremantle has asked a question here that how can you intervene in the problem of that is the counselors? For me, I would ask you to make an effort, a meeting like this with counselors and ask them, how do we as police, how do we as society can assist you in stopping these fightings? You have mentioned that police must do or must revise their vows. Very, very, very good. But in practical terms, for me, it means that you as the district manager, if you can change the personnel at Motherwell, take it to Malaba, and take the personnel from Malaba, you take it to Motherwell, because other cases are not going forward because in the station there is someone who is working with these people that are doing. So if you can change, the personnel around so that people they see new faces in that police station. Lastly, you mentioned Section 35, and it is true. You will always be getting this complaint that people are arrested today and tomorrow they are outside. Having the community, you give an audience to the community. The justice be here and explain to the community that, look, this is how it goes. We can't just charge a person, explain all those laws. But until you do that, people will always complaining and saying you are weak, you are not doing your job, because they don't understand exactly why a person is arrested and again outside the following day. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you very much, Bishop. You can just, yes, you muted yourself. So Bishop Fremantle asked about the responsiveness of the police. Bishop Koliti made his remarks, meaningful remarks. Anyone else, just a last remark or a question? And then we give over to the general again.
Dankie. I'm concerned about the police being caught in the middle. As human beings, you wear a uniform on the outside, but on the inside, you wear a human being. And the challenge is that I'm seeing pressure. I'll give an example. The people working at Eskom say they will arrest corrupt people. They will then hand them over to the police, only to find that senior police officials release those people within a few days. That was in the news in the last month. I'm concerned that there is pressure being put on police in the community where your lives are in danger. If you arrest somebody, you will be taken out. You guys are not saying that. And I think we need to hear and feel the kind of pressure that, you know, we've kind of heard the official things that you're dealing with, but there's more to that. And on a pastoral basis, what are you guys facing? You know, you talk about the councillors and what they are dealing with. If they are dealing with it, you must be dealing with much more. Thank you.
Thank you. I think let's give a last person. So I don't want to overburden you with questions, General. But on Zoom, there's Aubrey Meiber. Aubrey, you can unmute and make your remark.
Thanks for this opportunity. I think there's just two elements that I'm really concerned about. The one is the way that the police are recruiting their new people. If we are said that people come into a organization and they've got, for instance, a criminal background, and we are trying to make of criminals police officers, I've got a big concern when we say that, because if we give power to people that is criminally inclined or has not got the same value system. So my question, first of all, is what are we doing? What are the police doing to change the value system of police officers in the system itself? And then secondly is how can a church become involved at a police station, for instance? So I think one of our concerns is really the mental state of all police officers working under conditions that are very taxing and putting a lot of pressure on them. And how can we as a church become involved, for instance, in our area with a police station to help them with that kind of element, to help them steer, to help them with leadership elements and so forth. So yeah, just to throw that in. Thanks.
Right, thank you very much, Aubrey. Let's take a last remark. If Vusi Guam, Bishop Guam, if you can just make your remark and keep it short, please. Just unmute.
Thank you, Baba. General, we want to thank you for your input also. And add something that the Motherwell Ministers Fraternal raised when we had a meeting around this issue of crime. It is around the spread of these shops that buy steel and iron that is encouraging a lot of vandalism, especially within the township. As a church, we're of the opinion that there must be some strict laws governing scrap yards, and also visible arrest of the scrapyard owners who do not comply, because the taps, the copper pipes, electricity wires, and other things that are stolen, especially within the township, are sold in these scrapyards. And when people go to scrapyards, people simply say, they showed us IDs, but that is meaningless because how do you buy copper from a person you know he does not make copper? The second thing that we also would love to raise is the issue of community, what is called the rise of vigilantism within our communities now. People are firstly going back to what we thought we are over. And there is no program, because even participating in the community policing forums, I think it needs to be revamped, because that structure has lost its meaningless in reality, because criminals continue growing, and the neighbors who know who criminals are can't trust those systems. I think one needs to come up with another system of involving the community. Those are the two things that came from the ministers fraternal in Motherwell that I just wanted to raise. Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop. So that was the last remark for this session. Let's give the general an opportunity to respond.
Okay, thank you. Let me start with the copper theft. It is indeed a problem, because we have vandalism here in the district, and because the copper theft, the non-ferrous metals have become expensive. In fact, there is a lucrative business now, and even these stuff that are stolen here, they leave our shores, and they're needed somewhere. But there's so much that you can do as the police. Currently, we have a team, a joint team, together with the municipality, and initiated by our district. And we've already seen some successes in that regard. But there's much to do. And at the same time, head office has also established a task team. It's as an essential infrastructure task team that will only concentrate only on vandalism and the copper theft cases. And because really we are in trouble with it. But what is important is that I think we need to report these cases. And we need to report these cases, we need to sensitize our people, and we also need to identify those that commit these cases. Like Brigadier has just told me today, gave me feedback of the case, a success that we have one guy that is arrested. What they do, it's a big hole that is even longer than him, and they go underground to steal the copper, and you know, so it is not just an ordinary thing. It has become organized, and SAPS, even though SAPS has taken time, you know, and to establish this task team, we have done so. And us in the district, we are working with the city, and we are of course going to include other stakeholders that are really affected, that is the community and the railway and the ESCOM, the telecoms that are really affected by the community is very important. I think we are doing something about it, but it may not be enough, it may not be seen now, but we take it very seriously. And to me, I always say it's an economic sabotage what these people are doing. And I'm grateful that the various stations, because my instruction was stations must come back with feedback and tell me that we had a meeting with the religious leaders in our local stations. We must begin that. And must remember, this is a very new thing that we're basically doing. So, but I said, once we meet as the people, we will know what we discuss and what we can do. The solutions to our problems, to these problems, lie with us. So therefore, I'm happy that there was a meeting and they raised their issues with the station management of Motherwell. And I think we must keep on doing that because really without those meetings, we're not going to fight crime. I think we need more information. We need more information. And our people don't even understand that they can also be paid for giving information without being known. And they were very less in terms of the informers. I always say we need those people that will say between me and you. We want people to gossip now about crime, not gossip that so and so is doing. Come and gossip to us about the criminal activities and those that are involved in crime. But for the people to gossip to us, we must be trustworthy ourselves. That's why I am really encouraging our police to do well. What are we doing to change the value system in the police? Yeah, I think there's a lot that we do, and it's a long way. And because in the police now, in the past, when we joined the police, we were really told, and when you looked around, really this was a calling. And a calling, we're not, a calling now is more about the quantity now because of the public demand, of course, because of crime situation. And now when we go for quantity, we may also do at the expense of good quality as well. That's the reality. And that's what we are having at some of our police stations. But I have a confidence in our commanders. I have a confidence in them so that they can really assist government and the community and ensure that the police are there. One of the things that I do as well, I encourage the station commanders to do. And I think I even ask that we must get the station, after our station visits of the management of the station, where they go and surprise their members. They must go and see what is happening at night. And I'm not sure, because if we can do that religiously and consistently, because the members will also know that even if the commanders are not here, they can come anytime and watch what we're doing. Those visits. I think we'll be monitoring by so doing what is happening with our own police stations. Yeah, and everyone that is being recruited in the police, we do a crim check and they are being profiled, etc. But I'm worried about those that were never arrested. Those that were never arrested, that are busy committing crime as we speak. Some of them were never arrested, so therefore not going to see their fingerprints now, because they were never arrested. And yet some of them probably on drugs, they are doing things, when they come back from the college, they will want to continue doing so. But we've got very strict discipline code, and also we have a code of conduct that we pride ourselves about. So that everyone must abide and everyone must do what is expected of him or her in terms of our prescripts in the organization. And I think we're one organization that fire many people. We fire many police officials. We've got what we call expeditious process, where it is not a court now. It is not even a hearing. It will be a person at the rank of a brigadier and above who will sit, and a representative of the member who will be an accused, and you can fire that member just on that day. That's how serious we are. And it is in terms of Regulation 9 of our SAPS discipline regulation, we are dealing with serious cases expeditiously. That's what the organization is doing. And it may not be known, but that's what we are doing, and we have those cases, and we fire and dismiss our members. But there are still more that also deserve to leave our organization. And yes, of course, we're caught in the middle at sometimes, and in fact, the police are under pressure. We're really in trouble, and that is why we want everyone to come and assist us. And but one thing that we must never allow ourselves to be under a political pressure, and where we will find ourselves finding ourselves taking sides you know, in all these political conflicts, etc., or the politicians where they will come and tell us what to do, etc. We must just make sure that we don't do that. I think our prescripts and the constitution is very clear. It does guide us on how to work, and as long as we do what is expected of us, I think we'll do well. And with regards to the councillors, we had, and myself and the team, we had a meeting with the executive mayor. And one of the things that we discussed with the executive mayor, we talk about this problem within the politics and the councillors, because we've got cases here in the district where councillors were killed. And because of that, I even said they are going to receive priority, and we do have a task team that is only investigating those cases. And I know that very soon they will be getting a breakthrough because the investigation is so well, and there is some bit of information that we're following so that we can really effect an arrest, so that we don't find ourselves in a situation where politicians are killing one another because of the position, etc. We're taking that one. But what we're busy doing, because I only started from the 1st of July, and we continue with these bilateral meetings. Because mine is not to call everyone under the same roof without really having engaged with, understand what is their expectation and my expectation as well. And we met with the business chamber, we met with the executive mayor, and we're going to meet also with the correctional services around also the parole system as well. There's also parole that must also know, because many of these guys that are doing this, they are also those people that were in jail before, because they are on parole, because it's easy to get a parole. So we're continuing with that. You know, with regards to the ship-ins, one thing that we also, in fact, we made an inquiry. If you go to the shops in the townships, there's spaza shops there. They open until 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock. And that is why there are movements until very late. And then I said, okay, man, let me ask the city, because we don't have a bylaw. The police do not enforce bylaws, but we can assist. But I want to enforce this bylaw so that this shop that we are having can close on time. And the city does not have such a bylaw. And it was because of us that they are going to think and talk about that bylaw. That at least the spaza shops, there must be time. What are you selling at 1 o'clock, at 11 o'clock? That is why there are so many movements in our townships. And also the taverns. So the taverns here in the township, they close at 2. But now I agree with the bishop when he said, such as said, that we need to meet with the liquor board. Yeah, there are ongoing discussion with the local board together with the city on the times, including the involvement of the community and the stakeholders and those that have an interest when these licenses are issued, including the conditions. Because, you know, it's not here, and in other provinces, like where I come from, the license conditions, most of those that have licenses is on consumption. Here is on and off. That is why you see people coming in and out with liquor, etc. Something that I want to influence them. I said, no, allow them to drink there, so that when a person is drunk can go without having people with alcohol on the street. The reason you see people with alcohol, because there are so many off consumptions here in our townships. Yes, they've got their licenses. They have the right to have a license, it's a business for them. But I think somehow we need to tighten the conditions so that the police can also do better, because alcohol, drugs, firearms are the crime generators and also the persons of interest, those that are wanted by the police. And the firearms, there are so many. And you know, if you look at the burglaries will see that in the suburbs, that's where the property is, the property crimes, burglaries, the theft out of motor vehicles, etc. Some of the firearms, when people, they break into those homes in the suburbs, the UMOD and the other areas, they find firearms, but also they even rob from the police. 2 weeks ago, they robbed 2 cops, 2 police officials. They're all police. One is 58 years and the female was 53. You know, they are not like me. And I thank God that they did not kill them. Probably if they found the person who is younger would have wanted to fight them. But on the same day, we arrested the 3 of them, but they'd already killed a person that they were looking for. I think they may have used our firearm or not, I'm not sure, but we found 3 firearms and 3 suspects. And now, it was so difficult to keep them in jail. Very difficult to keep them in jail because now there is no witness during the killing. And until our 2 cops managed to identify them as the perpetrators of robbery, then there is a case for them to answer. So Section 35, I hope you can really read and understand. And we must begin now to, to approach government and challenge government around Section 35 because it makes it very difficult. Why these people who are accused that are in detention must have so many rights like this? Even the Human Rights Commission, when they come to the police station, they go to the cells because they want to see whether I will comply with the Constitution. Are we treating the prisoners with respect? They've got the clean blankets, there's electricity, there's warm water in the shower, they are eating. Even they look at our own menu for them. Whether they warned about their own rights. And those are the perpetrators. And I'm not sure whether they also go to the victims of crime and ask how much. And one thing that I must also mention, those at the Bishop, you said what they do, they beat up. We've got the mob justice killings here. And some those that we arrest after being injured, we pay for their medication. At my previous station, a year we're paying over 400,000 rands on medical expenses for the criminals because they are under arrest. Only to find out that when they are released, there is no crime because they were forced to incriminate themselves, to confess, to do the pointing out of all these things that they've done. So yes, the political parties have got a responsibility as well, but we do watch when crime is committed so that we investigate without fear or favor. And I think that's the expectation from us as government in terms of the Constitution. I think what we need to guard against is to have people amongst us, especially the senior management, to choose sides. That is why SAPS, you don't have to have a membership card to be employed. We must be apolitical. We must be apolitical. And so therefore must resist any attempts to influence us. To influence us either to do things what are wanted by political parties in the city and everywhere. We should not do that. I think we must be guided by the Constitution, the Criminal Procedure Act, and the Police Act. And I think that we know what they can expect from us. And there is a problem with a proliferation of firearms, and we're arresting many people. And another thing that I must also mention here, I am fighting with certain units because when they've got a search warrant, they will go there, and the search warrant must have a person. And if now you arrive at the house and you find the wife of this guy who is in the warrant, but you don't find the guy, but you find the firearm, and people are not arrested because those cases will not be enrolled because the firearm belongs to the suspect. So we must listen to the alibi of people now, because or else the courts are not going to enroll those cases and people are not prosecuted. And if we're not going to prosecute, or we're expected only to find people in possession of firearms, we're going to struggle. So I know there's so much that we need to do as the police, but I think also sometimes I have this feeling, as my personal view, based on experience, something that I'm prepared to talk about it anyway, is that sometimes the Lord does not really assist us. Because now this thing of proving beyond reasonable doubt is not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing to do. We can't arrest without a witness. We can't arrest. And I think when, let me stop it there. I almost wanted to say not detention without trial. I almost said that, but no, let me withdraw. Let me withdraw. You see? Let me withdraw. And at the same time, you know, yesterday, a lot was presented to us about the unlawful arrest, the civil claims against the state, the police. It's so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, General. Right, I think Trevor is the right guy to answer that question. So Trevor, I'm going to do Okay, sorry, Neville.
I think we need to be very realistic, General. I know that we are dependent on the church. You know, if we take 700 churches in our metro, and the small church is the big church, and we had 70,000 people in churches, we would have 1.5 million people to attend to. And the issue is the church, number one, I want to encourage us to really get back to influencing the thinking of our people through a message that changes minds. The police will never be able to kind of accomplish their objectives. For example, the scripture is very clear. In Habakkuk, it says, destruction and violence are before us. There is strife and conflict abounds. The law is paralyzed and justice never prevails. The wicked hem in the righteous, so that justice is perverted. And we listen to you speak on these things. I do not understand how we claim to have the best constitution in the world that protects criminals. For example, the Dangerous Weapon Act that you want knives to be taken up only deals with gatherings and demonstrations, but not with my safety in the street. The death penalty is on our streets, but not in our courts. And when we look at, for example, the Child Justice Act, our gangsters are using children who will not be able to go to jail for years while they are the perpetrators of these things. I also want to say our involvement maybe with gangs has been brought on one thing. We do not allow gun salutes at the gangs we bury. We had a leader now the other day buried from our church. And it will not be allowed because at the end of the day, we cannot make criminals be the role models for our children. We cannot make them be the role models. And so when it comes to the police system is hampered. And I want to encourage you, General, today that send the best capacitated policemen to do the dockets on crime and murder and all of these things that are happening. You know, we do not shout aloud about things, but 480 people killed in our metro should be on the front page of all of our agendas to make sure that we basically address these atrocities. The problem I think, and I want to conclude with this rather, the problem I think there is too many of us are in a comfort zone because we're not facing this pandemic or the endemic of crime every day. I mean, we live in fear in the area. We do not move out at night, but also this is the way I feel, like with the CPFs, like we did with Timmy and them and all the projects that we work with in order to go through the communities. We need to become again as a church more visible in the streets, street for street, ward for ward, 60 of those wards. And maybe on that Tuesday evening or the Tuesday meetings with the Umfundisi here next to me, maybe we should strategize those projects and just see how we can make it happen again. It's tough out there. It's not easy. And it's very complex at the moment. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. So the assumption is that crime isn't only the police's problem, but it's also the community's problem. And we need to contribute, and the church is ready and willing to make a difference. Trevor, you want to make an input exactly on that point? Dirk asked, how can we be involved? Is there a practical plan?
Sitting next to me is Cherise, the General's PA. She's dead. I went to see her for 5 minutes. We landed up talking for 45. There's a list she's given me of every police station and all the wards connected to that police station. Now, we're working in wards, okay? So what we need to do is to write to every church in the particular ward and say, this is your police station. We need ownership by the church of the police station. And from that flows a prayer groups, etc., etc. It's quite funny, Donnie. Yeah, I've got an age back is a pattern of prayer, praying for our policemen. We should send this out to churches and encourage them to get involved. And also, we need to know, to liaise with you, is how do we encourage people to join the community policing forums? Okay, so it's something positive we got to do. And what I'm suggesting one thing, that let's own the police station. Let the church own the police station in its area. There are 18 of them, so we've divided the wards up, that they match those and get people to get involved. Yeah, no, we'll send out, there's some police secrecy. I've got to interpret all this stuff. Now we'll send it out as an email to everybody in the city. This is your ward. This is your police station. Go and get involved. And then I just want to say one thing, Donnie. You know, we're making a big mistake, Bishop. Why? When we talk church, we talk subject to the pastor, and it doesn't go further. That's our problem. At these breakfasts we're having, going around these wards, we'll have had 10 by the end of the month. Police persons are coming to all those breakfasts, and the input that they're giving us obviously sometimes changes our script for the next one, because they advise us in how you can do things. So the community is coming together, being drawn by the church as the vehicle to bring the community together. Because all different people, yesterday I was at the meeting, now the NGOs want to come to our meeting on Saturday morning with Ward, 39, I think, Donnie. Yeah, we're having other people who want to come to the meeting. So we can use the church as the biggest network, as the vehicle to bring the society together. You see, the church is seen as a neutral player. That's enough.
Yeah, so the church has inviting power. So the church can really invite the whole community and bring people together. So it's not only putting pressure on the police to solve cases, but it's also a preventative measure. And I think what we should also note, Trevor, is about the programs that the General spoke about, programs. I mean, I think it is so important to connect with communities, to influence children, so that before the crime is committed. I mean, you spoke about role models, you know, in community. Friends, thank you. Yeah, I think we are running out of time now. So let me just check the comments here. Thank you all. Please excuse me. Bishop Kuliti says, my question of changing personnel around has not been addressed. That is very true, Bishop, but we are now out of time. I think we really have to conclude the meeting. And what I now have to do is to ask Apostle Neville Goldman, who has just left the meeting, to pray for. So Bishop, can we ask Bishop Chung?
And also whether in view of the kind of relationship that we are establishing, whether he will be able to communicate to the police stations that the churches have resolved, so that the churches are not seen as encroaching into the space of your leadership and your personnel there, so that they be informed that the churches have resolved to assist, so that when they come into play, they may not be chucked off.
Yeah, so please, General, don't arrest us if you come to.
I'll be very quick.
Do you want to respond,
Yes.
General? Yes.
And in addition to the response, what we are requesting, what the church can do, and is to begin to organize themselves at various police precincts. The station commanders have been instructed to do that. But what we realize is that there are too many churches, they are not organized. But I even asked them, I said, write to send your van, write letters, invite them under one roof. But now, if now the various fraternal church organizations can also assist in ensuring that we do that. And what are you going to do? Here's the programs. And once I think the church leaders meet, they will know exactly what to do. Of course, part of is the praying, the programs, but also we need also our churches be adopted. We must know in the middle of them. For instance, now I was watching what was happening in Nyanga. The area was burning. And then, and I told her, I said, but did you call Abefundis? Because Abefundis would go anywhere and begin with the mediation, because you can stop the violence. You can stop government from doing this, and we stop the criminals, because no one will attack the reverends going to a taxi rank. No one. So have programs, adopt police stations, and then we've got what we call victim-friendly rooms at every police station. When a victim of crime, we have a room, and those rooms are managed and manned by the volunteers from the community. What they do not counseling, because they're not professional counselors, but they do debrief and give support. And we need your experience. And once you meet, of course, I expect stage commanders to introduce you to various and what is expected, what do we do in those rooms. Now we are spending millions of rands in buying furniture for those victim-friendly rooms, because those are our victims. We've already, these are the people that we would have failed to protect them from the criminals, but they are at our own police stations now, so that they feel welcomed, no secondary abuse, and they must be given support. And it does help us a lot. And lastly, when I was introducing, I did not introduce my own secretary. I think she's doing very well. Cheris, and I almost lost my job now. but thank you very much. She's doing very well, and I don't think I'll be able to do even my diary without her. And I know there was communication when we spoke. I said, yeah, here's the person that will manage the what you call. But I think I must thank this meeting and say we're very happy to be here. All the changes, yes, that one is under discussion, because everywhere. But you see, in the past, it was easy, because now it involves money. Because if you're going to take me, I'm from here at KwaZakele, you want to take me to let me say, to Oma. Who's going to transport me to? Because now it's going to be initiated by the state. So we'll end up spending more. But I think what we need to concentrate on, let's discipline those who are not doing right. Instead, because now it's easier, but you'll be transferring problems. A person who's doing wrong here, you say, no, you are a naughty pastor, you must go to another church. What is he going to do there? He's going to do the same thing. But why can't we deal with the problem? That is why I was saying, let's deal with the problem. I even said, that's what I'm telling the community. Those that you see, record them. You must record them and put it on ENCA, so that while I'm at home watching news, is not this my vehicle? It's written Warmer, it's written Kamesh, then I take action. So that's what we need to do. I think we must concentrate there, but it is under discussion everywhere that is raised. In the past, police were a very small number, but now we are hundreds of thousands. So it's not easy to do that change, because it has got financial implications, but it's something that we can consider. Thank you very much.